Good evening, everyone. My name is Amber Armstrong, and today I will be exploring the use of smart bed-based sleep tracking apps among consumers. So first, I want to give an overview. I'm going to talk about the background, then go into the ethical edge, talk about governance, the ethical philosophy, ethical decision making, and then summarize everything that I presented today. So I want to give a little background on the Sleep Number bed and kind of let you guys know what I say when I mean sleep tracking apps and what I mean when I talk about these beds. So with the Sleep Number bed, your sleeping surface is your sleep tracker. So there are small sensors placed throughout the mattress. These sensors, they track movement, heart rate, temperature, and breathing. They also track other things as well. So you'll just look more into that. But you can't feel the sensors. However, they're constantly gathering information, constantly gathering data to help read different sleep performance data points. All right, so the majority of Sleep Number mattresses cost more than average for a new bed. In 2023, so this year, 340 mattresses were analyzed for ratings, and it was found that the average price for a queen size bed, this is Sleep Number by the way, a Sleep Number queen size bed was around $2,000. So if you're buying a new Sleep Number smart bed and a queen size, expect to pay between the ranges of $1,100 to $10,000. These beds are expensive. So when we think about consumers and who's likely to be buying these beds, I want you guys to think adult homeowners between the ages of 30 to 54 years old, because I'm a college student and I know right now I'm not buying a $2,000 bed. I know I can't afford that. So these are well-off adult homeowners, like I said, ages 30 to 54. Adults who usually have sleeping problems are buying these beds. These beds are known to improve sleep and give you that high quality sleep. If I was paying $2,000 for a bed, I hope that it improves my sleeping problems. And so then adults with an annual household income of $75,000 or more. I feel like this is pretty well off, pretty high income. So like I said, I want you guys to think about this when I also talk about my stakeholders and who's affected. These are mainly the individuals buying these beds. So these are people who are going to be affected by Sleep Number and the sleep tracking apps and what I'm going to be presenting today. So I wanted to include this information before I go into my ethical edge, just to give you a little background on what I'll be speaking on. So Sleep IQ defines their personal information as information collected through your interactions with and use of Sleep IQ technology. So with that, I feel like that is a very broad definition of personal information on Sleep Number bed's part. They do have two types of personal information that they mention in their privacy policy: transaction and engagement personal information and Sleep IQ personal information are the two types that they collect and use for different reasons. So when they talk about transaction and engagement personal information, these are a list of bullet points of what they mean. So when you schedule delivery, so your address, create a user profile, so email address, your usernames, complete a warranty card, business supply card, or other form. So any credit cards, applying for financing, things like that. They're going to use that information that you input when you activate these services or when you use these websites or apply for this loyalty program. They're going to use any of that information, and they can use that for different reasons that they will like, essentially. And then when they talk about Sleep IQ personal information, this is where I really want you all to pay attention here, because this is mainly what I mean when I go forward talking about my ethical edge and personal information with Sleep Number. So when they talk about Sleep IQ personal information, this is any information while you're creating the account profile in Sleep IQ. When you use a Sleep Number bed with Sleep IQ enabled, use the Sleep IQ mobile app, enter information into the Sleep IQ mobile app, choose to connect Sleep IQ with a third-party service. So I want you all to notice how there's no actual listed out bullet points of what is actually being collected when you use that Sleep IQ app. It's more so a broad, general, kind of like everything is free game that you enter into the mobile app. So what is my ethical edge? So this is where the ethical edge comes in. Consumers pay for high quality sleep, but they are unaware of the type of personal information that the corporation collects through the sleep tracking software and mattresses. The data or information collected by the beds are not specifically elaborated in fine print, so users can be blindsided about what and how much information they are giving to the company. So like I said before, there was no specified list of, okay, breathing is being tracked, temperature is being tracked, head movement is being tracked, leg movement is being tracked. There's no specified list. It kind of just gives a broad range of anything that you put in this app is free game. However, personal information that I put into the app or personal information that I think the app is collecting could potentially be different than the personal information that Sleep IQ is talking about. So when we talk about governance, I wanted to include this definition of governance. It's a collection of processes, roles, policies, standards, and metrics that ensure the effective and efficient use of information and enabling an organization to achieve its goals. So when it comes to governance and the Sleep Number bed, I wanted to talk about these three main points. So, data integrity. Is the data proactively reviewed, evaluated for accuracy, and is it useful? So, that information that is being collected, could that information be being collected by a child who is going to be moving in their sleep, or a child or a partner who frequently moves in their sleep or doesn't move at all? Is that data needed? Is that data even necessary for the company to collect? Does their information have to be used in order for, I guess, better smart beds to be made, or in order for the company to continue making beds? How does that information from those individuals, is that accurate, and is it even useful to the company? Data location, where and who does this data go to? So who's collecting the information? Is it the CEOs of the company? Is it the software engineers? Is it the Sleep IQ, developers? Who's actually getting this information, and where are they sending that information to? Is it one person, multiple people? Is it a third party service outside of IQ who's responsible for collecting the information and putting it into a big data software? And then data privacy. Is the data being collected from the appropriate individuals? Are other individuals' data being tracked without their consent? What is all being tracked? So like I said, if it's a minor in the bed or something, is there information really needed? Like, do we need to track this person who didn't necessarily buy this bed, who didn't really want their information out there or collected? How can we make sure that their information isn't being used and distributed in a way that they did not consent to? Also, like I said, letting consumers know what is actually being tracked, bullet point by bullet point, everything that's being tracked when it comes to, the person sleeping on the bed and paying for this service. What is everything that you are collecting from me? We need to know. So, like I kind of mentioned earlier, how do you define personal data? So, like I said, we might be going into the app thinking, okay, I will allow them to track my breathing. I will allow them to track my heart rate, but I'm not going to allow them to track, sexual activity or certain things that I do in the bed that are very sensitive or personal, should not be collected, or you shouldn't be taking data points, or shouldn't be trying to collect information while these things are going on while I'm sleeping. So discrepancies about what the company considers personal data and what individuals might consider personal data could be different. Like I said, the company states what they believe to be personal data is. However, it's kind of just general and it's not specified and laid out of what everything that they could potentially be collecting. So therefore, companies need to ensure that personal data is even more specified, even listed out so that consumers have full disclosure on what information is being collected from them. Because if I don't know that you're tracking my what I'm saying in my sleep, that could be very personal to me, and you're tracking that. That is something that I might want to opt out of, or something that I might not think that you were tracking this whole time. Like, I'm not even fully aware, like, oh, they're tracking what I'm saying as well. So just having a list of everything when using that app, having that list, I think will really help people understand and kind of make a decision of what information and what information they do and what information they don't want to be tracked. So my governor's plan overview, in order to give the consumers full autonomy over what information is collected by Sleep Number beds and how this information is used, I feel like a specified list of all information being tracked in the private policy, options to opt out of having some or all of information is collected, and an updated policy plan whenever new information is collected or distributed. So like I said, whenever the information should be out there for the consumers to know what is being tracked. They should get full, disclosure. They should have full autonomy to opt out of any and all of that information if they wanted to. If they want just, their heart rate to be tracked, okay. If they want all other information to not be tracked, that should be up to the consumer. Also, if the company does start tracking more and more things, those things need to be added to the list. If you start tracking hand placement, foot placement, if you start tracking, like I said, voice recognition, or if you start tracking somebody's voice, all of that needs to be updated every time that you add something more personal or more information to collect. It should all be added to that list. And where the information is being distributed should also be included in that, because we're not clear on who is actually getting this information. So when it comes to the ethical philosophy, in order to ensure transparency regarding what information is being collected from the Sleep Number beds, the company should instill relativism ethics. And here is why I think relativism ethics is a good philosophy that the company should be that the company should use in order to, make consumers feel, or in order to give consumers that autonomy and transparency. So relativism ethics, what is it? The belief that there's no absolute truth, only the truth that a particular individual or culture happen to believe. So society makes their moral choices based on unique beliefs, customs, and practices. And in fact, people tend to believe that the right moral values are the values that exist in their own cultures. So I took the liberty of thinking, okay, what are the values that Americans live by? And I came across, let me go to the next. I came across values Americans live by. I think I have the source in my notes, but I believe it's a book by Robert Coles. And he kind of talked about these different points, and these are the main values that Americans live by in our culture. These are the main values that we live by. So I wanted to highlight two of them that I felt like went with my topic and kind of goes along with Sleep Number bed and how they can improve their ethics when it comes to sleep tracking apps and sleep tracking on individuals. So individualism, independence, and privacy, directness, openness, and honesty. And so when I talk about directness, openness, and honesty, the company should have a specified list of information that is collected when using the Sleep Number beds and any apps associated with it. So like I said, being transparent, just being open, just being honest with people about what is actually being collected, not kind of leaving it up for them to guess what information they put in there is being collected and what they might not think is being collected. So having that list, I feel like helps. It also helps, just give off like, okay, this is all that we're, tracking. We're being open with you and honest with you about this. If you don't want this information to be tracked, you can opt out of it. and so on and so forth. So when I talk about individualism, independence, and privacy, Sleep Number should give users the ability to opt out of having some or all of their information collected. Like I just said, when I think of individual independence and privacy, I don't want half my information being distributed to people, especially if I think it's very sensitive and I feel like it's, my information that's solely that I want to kind of keep and protect. I don't want that information just all around going through individuals and going through all this type of data and going in computers, and I'm not comfortable with that. So allowing consumers full autonomy and giving them that choice and that freedom to keep their information private or some of their information private while allowing other information to be shared, I think that speaks to American value, and that allows consumers to you know that allows consumers to kind of trust the company a little more and want to buy the product even more. So there's that. And then there's limits to relativism. So it's potential to create chaos, allows opinions and perceptions to become universal truth, and create a society that is fueled through personal bias. So when I think of this, I think of Sleep Number bed potentially. Okay, if you say, I'm trying to see an example. So, like, if the Sleep Number bed decides this is what we believe to be the truth, so we're gonna say we believe personal information is this, so that's their truth. Well, it goes against what I believe personal information is. So it creates kind of like I said, like a universal truth that might not be so universal, or might not be what everyone else thinks. However, because Sleep Number bed is so, headstrong about what personal data is, and they have it set that this is what personal data means, that can cause a problem. So that is a limit of relativism. And then when it comes to ethical decision making, here are my primary decisions that should happen. The consumer gets control on what data is allowed to be tracked by the company. Consumers should also have control on how their data can be used. The company should provide a full list of information collected in the policy, and constant updates when more information is collected and distributed. So these are decisions that the company should make in order to get them off of that ethical edge and give them more of give consumers more freedom and more autonomy to, have their information kept to themselves or out there for the company to use. So like I said earlier, when we think about stakeholders, so who is being affected by these decisions and who is able to make these decisions? So when I think about who's being affected, I talked about this earlier, but high income homeowners is the people buying these beds, and these are people ages 30 to 54, adults, homeowners, adults with sleeping problems, adults in homes with sleeping problems. And then who are people that can affect or change these decisions? It's the Sleep Number bed software engineers, the analysts, the administrations, the CEOs, the sleep tracking technology companies, because I'm pretty sure Sleep Number themselves, they partner with other companies in order to make sure that their apps work, in order to make sure the technology associated with the bed is doing what it needs to do. And then social media platforms and the FDA. And I put social media platforms in the FDA because I feel like, the information that comes from these Sleep Number beds, they can be used to potentially, create like ads on social media, and they could potentially be used to for melatonin companies, and how can we help sleep if we see people are having more sleeping problems, or if we see people aren't actually going to sleep on time or having regular sleeping patterns. How can we use that information and distribute it to these third parties so that they can use it and benefit from it as well? So these are people who are affected in the decisions that the company makes, and who can also affect the decisions that the company makes. So I want to summarize and say that good sleep improves your brain performance, mood, and health. Not getting enough quality sleep regularly raises the risk of many diseases and disorders. This range from heart disease and stroke to obesity and dementia. Consumers seek out companies like Sleep Number to achieve good sleep. However, these individuals should be fully aware of the risks that come from buying these beds. The Sleep Number company, while their intentions seem good, can make better ethical decisions to ensure that full transparency and autonomy are given to the consumers. And that is the end of my project. My sources are actually associated with each PowerPoint in the notes, but thank you all for listening, and I hope that you learned something from my project. Thank you.